Hello there, folks. DJ Burgstarre here, back with another tip of the day. Today I want to talk about Max for Live. And up until the last year or so, I never even went into Max for Live. It just seemed a bit complicated and a bit odd, and I just sort of stuck with the regular instruments and audio effects and MIDI effects that Ableton offered. But recently, going into Max for Live and really exploring some of these instruments and effects in here has really opened my eyes, and I'd like to share three of my favorites with you. Melodic probability is awesome for bass lines and simple melody lines, and Instant Haus is a drum machine that's really easy to use and has some kind of interesting features with its randomization. And the third Max for Live device is an LFO, and I'm going to be using the LFO on both of the other devices. So let's just show you what I've got going on here. So we'll start with the melodic probability. So over here I've dropped it in, I've put a wavetable as my sound, and at the end here I just have a little LFO controlling this to give it a little bit of character. So what I've set up here is, as you can see, the length of this is 4 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in here I just put in some notes, pretty simple little bass line that I'm going to have on this song. You can set the rate to be going faster or slower. If you want to swing, you can have that. There's some probability over here, and that's why they call it probability. I don't use this much. You can select a note and it'll sort of start to gray out as you go up and down on this event to give it a probability whether it will trigger or not. Also, the whole thing can be put in the scale that you need it to be in. And so that's what I did. Over here on one of my tracks, I have just a simple melody progression in C minor. So I wanted to make sure my probability notes are in that scale in this melodic probability Max for Live device. So let's hear what I've got going here with just soloing that. As I click on these bottom ones, you can see the whole row, or that measure on the notes I clicked at. See, it's real easy just to change these around. And of course you can choose the octave. I've got it sort of low here. You can go up higher if you're doing a melody line, and you can mess with the velocities and the lengths a bit as well. But it's real simple and easy just to pop in a real quick bass line for something you're working on. So I started with that. Okay, and then the next thing I want to talk about is getting some drums here. So this Instant Haus is another Max for Live device, and it's kind of cool because it has this randomization down here. So what you do is you pick the kit after the Instant Haus that you want to use, and if you go to drums here in Ableton Live, there's all these kits to choose from, which is really cool. So I was just scrolling down, and this one kind of sounded cool, this 505 classic kit, so I just chose it. But you can start this thing going and just be replacing kits until you find one that's maybe more what you wanted, an acoustic kit, or something really hard, like this charred kits. Those are really hard and nasty. Or you can find some clean kits, or an 808 kind of regular classic 808 kit. So it's kind of cool just to be able to drop this drums in here after the Instant Haus to just swap it around and find what sounds good for you. So let's listen to that, and I'll just solo it for now. And what's kind of cool is when you click the break here button, it'll do a little break. So, and that'll be a different sort of a pattern. Let's do it again. And if I hit randomize pattern, if I'm on breaks, you can sort of find the break you like best. Let's see. That's a little bit better. Okay, so we'll go back to the regular beat. Okay, that's kind of cool. But you see, I have to kind of do this manually as it's going. If I find one I like, I can just click over here and it'll save the pattern. Whoops, that went back to my break. Anyway, so you can save your patterns basically if you find one you really like. So you can kind of click on this grid, which is nice as well. So if you do find something, wow, and it's kind of hard to find it again if you were just randomizing things all the time. But here's where the power comes in, why I like these instruments. So what I did is I duplicated this track here on another one, but I threw on 2 LFOs. Now one LFO is controlling the random button here of the regular drum beat, and I have a slower one, LFO set here on the breaks. And so as this plays, it's randomizing my pattern and switching back and forth from breaks to the regular pattern. And so it gives this machine sort of a whole different flavor, and it's hands off. It's just kind of randomizing and doing it for you, and it comes up with some really interesting patterns that are sort of changing and evolving over time, and sort of keeps the interest going in your track, so it's not just the same beat over and over. So let's play this one instead of this other one I had. We can solo that. You see how it's switching around, and it's randomizing the pattern on the breaks and the regular beat. And if you listen to it, it's just kind of randomizing everything. Let's turn the bass line on again here. So with these 2 LFOs mapped over to the randomize button, one is on the breaks and one's on the house, it'll kind of change up this beat, which is pretty cool. Now let's turn on my chord pattern I had just to turn it into a more musical song, so we can hear these going. And I'll go back to the straight beat so we can kind of compare what that sounded like to that one that's being triggered by all those LFOs. So this is just going to be a straight beat. Sounds pretty cool. I could start randomizing. Now I've just been randomizing the pattern, but you can also randomize the swing and the note. But when you randomize the note, it gets kind of weird. It'll play, cymbals where you're expecting a kick drum and things like that. So I don't like to randomize too much here. I just kind of want to randomize the pattern. So let's now switch it to the one that's being randomized. Okay, so those are my 3 kind of new favorite items I found in the Max for Live folder here. And you can see that they have a lot of MIDI effects, a lot of instruments, and a lot of audio effects. And it kind of takes a lot of time to go through here and find out what you like and what you don't like. And I'll probably make another video of some more ones that I found that I'm liking and using. But for now, I found these and I really like it. Now this LFO, what I did was I set it to a square. If you have this on other things, it gets a bit weird because the square is, triggering it, and I have it set to here to trigger every measure. So it kind of changes the pattern on the beat rather than in some odd fashion that's going to maybe make it too random. And again, with the LFO on this one that's randomizing the breaks, I made it a little slower here. It's only going every 4 bars instead of, every 2 bars, even though it says number 4. It's going every 2 bars, and that's changing the break pattern. So, and basically you know how to route that. You just select, if I was to bring up the list, you just say map and then click on the button you want to have mapped. And that's what I did. So I came up with this little groove, and you can see how easy it was just to get this melodic probability for my bass line. And this melodic probability will do 8. I have it set to 4, but you can go to 8 and you know, add. See, these are blank here, these last 4. It's not playing, but I could add more, so this would be longer. But for now, I just did the 4, and those are kind of my cool 3 Max for Live devices. So this video basically is just to encourage you to look in this Max for Live folder and start messing around with a lot of these devices, because up until recently I wasn't doing that, but now I can see the power of Max for Live, and there is a lot of stuff to explore in here. So anyway, I'm sure I'll have a follow-up video, but for now, that's it for today. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. DJ Burgstarre out.